And this is a big one in light of all the protests that continue here in America, around the world. There are a lot of companies now stepping forward, posting support for Black Lives Matter, even donating money. Well, Sharon Chuter, she is the founder of Oma Beauty, and she is issuing a challenge specifically to beauty companies, saying it is time to hashtag pull up or shut up. What does she mean by that? She has issued them a challenge to release the number of Black people that are listed either in leadership roles or in their executive list at their companies. Okay, kind of call out culture. What do you think of this challenge? And is this a way to kind of affect change?
Well, I think a lot of brands aren't really participating, and I think it's kind of obvious why, because the number of Black individuals in those leadership roles and executive roles are probably very low or non-existent. So I don't think the results will shock anyone, but I think if you accumulated all of those receipts, if they were all tallied up, that could be effective, I think, to see that sort of laid out in the numbers that we inevitably will see. But I don't know about you guys. I'm seeing brands from streaming services that I subscribe to restaurants that I visit, and they are calling themselves out, calling out their inaction leading up to this, and publicly stating that they have not done enough, and then also presenting their action plans and let's say organizations that they plan on supporting moving forward. And I find that to be very effective. I want to continue to support those brands moving forward, because on the flip side, we're seeing, these brands that are doing almost doing tokenism, like they're posting something on social media. And have you guys pulled up a chair to Twitter and Instagram, especially this weekend? Like, I was seeing former employees or current employees calling out restaurants, calling out other brands and businesses that they work for, networks that they work for, saying, hey, guess what? Toxic cultures, racist cultures have flourished at these brands and places of business, and enough is enough. They've posted something that they support Black Lives Matter, and they haven't lived that. They haven't supported it behind the scenes in any way. In fact, they've exasperated the problem to a great deal. And that is effective too. I've got a list of places that I won't be supporting anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point in terms of your responsibility as a consumer, Jess. And I think that the key word there is responsibility. Mel, you mentioned call out culture and what we think of it. And what, Jess, you were just saying is almost a self call out culture. I want to refer to a tweet that our friend Kayla Gray posted a few days ago. Kayla said, after posting content or statements which denounces racism, I encourage networks or companies and leagues to take a walk through their comment sections. I understand trolls will do what they do, but check your ratio in response. Who have you made space for? And I think the word ratio was my takeaway. Ratio here refers to your customer base, your fans, who supports you. And so I think that when we're all looking at our own calling out of ourselves and then calling out of companies, you're asking them to say, who are you doing business with and for? And so for my own call out culture, I thought about my own ratio on LaineyGossip.com. I am a business owner. I'm a woman of color who owns a business. And I had to think about what I do in terms of what voices I represent. Certainly at LaineyGossip.com, we have a diverse range of voices. There are Black women, there are biracial women, there are brown men who are represented. But am I doing enough for the LGBTQ community? Am I doing enough? Is one or two Black writers enough? No. Are one or two South Asian writers enough? No. And so on my website, I posted a message to our readers saying, it's on me to do better, but also it's on me to consider my ratio. There are a lot of white people, white women who visit LaineyGossip.com who have been turned off over the last 2 weeks about my content. And I've had to live with getting used to and not caring about the fear that they may not support my business anymore and that my livelihood would be affected. And I think a lot of companies, including our show, have to consider that, who our audience is and who we want to cater to. Do we want to make it more comfortable for the people out there watching the social who are like, oh, racism talk again? Or do we want to speak directly to the members of our audience who have been racialized, who have been victimized by anti-Black and anti-Indigenous racism, and who want to learn more? I think the ratio here is the key, and I encourage everybody to think about the ratio in their own lives.
Yeah, it's great points all around, Lainey. This got me thinking of that part that everybody is talking about, which is calling ourselves out. And there are areas of control that are easier than others. And speaking out and posting and sending money in support of organizations that are making a difference, that is all very important. But there is also the flip side, which is understanding how we can control things in our own life and calling ourselves out. You know, when you talk about this, the beauty founder, she had said, you know, like, all right, companies, where are you at? Release your lists. And this is what we call systemic racism. It isn't just who's at the top or lack thereof of who's at the top. This symptom right at the top starts somewhere. And that's the part we can control. Do you know that of the Fortune 500 companies, only 4 are led by Black CEOs, and they're all male? There's only ever been one Black female CEO ever on the Fortune 500 list, and she led Xerox. That was 4 years ago. So there's a question about power, but it's not just at the top. Bias exists not just in policing, it exists in preschool. Look this up. Yale did a famous study, and they had they had 4 children sitting at a table, preschoolers. 2 were 2 white children, a boy and a girl, and then there was a Black boy and a Black girl. And teachers, Black and white, were asked to look for any quote unquote challenging behaviors exhibited by any of the children. Here's the thing. There were no challenging behaviors. There were 4 children playing the same activities at a table together. And yet the findings blew researchers away. All the teachers, Black and white, found the most challenging or troubling behavior with the Black boy. It starts in areas in our lives. It starts in our immediate life. What school does your child go to? You know, what is the diversity in the classrooms? What's the diversity in the chairs? What's the diversity in your neighborhood? There's a lot we can look at within our own world.
Yeah, I agree, Mel. And it's true. There's 2 things happening at once. It's one, we need to look at our school systems and what kinds of priorities are going to racialized communities, and how is the education system, both at elementary level, but a high school level, and then beyond, post-secondary, supporting people to make sure that they have the best access to future positions. But then there's also the onus, like, you know, it starts at the very top of big corporations. There's been a lot of discussion around there's a pipeline problem, meaning, well, you know, maybe I'm a company and maybe I would like to promote people of color, but there haven't been people coming up through the ranks. I mean, that's a problematic statement in and of itself, because I think that the onus is on those companies to go out and seek out. There are numerous examples of mega successful companies that are Black-owned and Black-run. So I think change does start at the very top. And I will say that I think right now you're seeing a lot of conversations that do give me a tiny bit of hope going forward. I think that what we need to see, though, is more of this call out, but also accountability. It is a time for us to be reflecting on our own selves at the same time as holding big companies and big corporations accountable as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.